Hey everyone, my name is Keith and I am a SLO City Kids volunteer. I really miss you guys and I can't wait to see you soon. Now here's Sky Guy the News Guy.
Hey, Dino Dave. He got away again? No, I told you, you have to catch him before he gets on the news.
Welcome to SLO City Kids News, where we bring you good news of great joy for all the people. Here is your host, Sky Guy, the News Guy.
Our top story this week is squirrel catapults. A man by the name of Mark Rober, former NASA engineer, has created a wipeout obstacle course for squirrels in his backyard. Mark got tired of the squirrels coming and robbing from his bird feeders, and so Mark decided to make it a little challenging for these little furry fellas. So Mark created an entire obstacle course for these squirrels to run through to earn the reward of a walnut. Not just one walnut, many walnuts. Check out this clip of Mark's creation. Well, summer is upon us, and unfortunately, we are still sheltering at home. And maybe at the beginning of this, you were pretty excited and it was new and you got to stay home with your family, and maybe you built a fort. But as the weeks have turned to months, maybe your excitement for fort building has gone, but IKEA is here for the rescue. IKEA has released an article that has the 6 best ways to build a fort out of furniture. And I bet you need a little revitalization into your fort building excitement. And so you can follow this link and it's going to take you to an IKEA article on how to create an incredible fort while you are sheltering at home. Parents, you are welcome. Our correspondents have been on the ground this week collecting footage of challenge sheet submissions. And 2 weeks ago, the Caldwell family got straight into the action and went right out on a Sunday afternoon to help wash their parents' car, while also Mary Steckling joined in and she rushed out to wash her parents' car. Remember, you can find the challenge sheet at slowcity.church/kids for your chance to have some summer fun while you are sheltering at home and your chance to earn a prize. Well, here at SLO City Kids News, like always, we need and we want your story. So if you have been doing something awesome while you have been sheltering at home, we want to... Really? You're back again? You know what? Go ahead. Here we go. Everybody stand up on your feet. Let's worship with Mr. Phil.
All right. This morning we're going to do a fun song. It involves dancing. So... pick your favorite song, dance style, Fortnite dance, whatever. And this is also a kind of repeat what I repeat at the beginning. So I'll say, like, I've been released, and then you gotta say, I've been released too. Or else I'll just look silly, and that's not good. Here we go. I've been released, and I am free, free, free. There are no more chains encumbering me. I've been released, I've been released, and I am free, free, free. There are no more chains encumbering me. Here's the dance part. Oh, wait for it, wait for it. Oh, oh, Jesus came, oh, Jesus came. He died on Calvary. There are no more chains encumbering me. Oh, Jesus came, oh, Jesus came. He died on Calvary. There are no more chains encumbering me. Oh, here's the dance part again. Oh, boom, chickie, bop, boom, chickie, bop, bop, boom, chickie, bop. The devil's lost. I've run in the tree. There are no more chains encumbering me. Oh, the devil's lost. The devil's lost. I've run in the tree. There are no more chains encumbering me. I'm heaven bound, God's glory can see. There are no more chains encumbering me. Oh, I'm heaven bound, God's glory can see. There are no more chains encumbering me. Oh, boom, chickie, bop, boom, chickie, bop, bop, boom, chickie, bop, boom, boom, chickie, bop, boom, chickie, bop, bop, boom, chickie, bop. I've been released, and I am free, free, free. There are no more chains encumbering me. I've been released, and I am free, free. There are no more chains encumbering me. Last one. Oh.
Good morning, Slow City kids and parents. So good to be with you guys again this morning to continue our journey in the life of Joseph. Hope you guys had an awesome week. And so, I was thinking this morning, we haven't done this in a while. We haven't taken time to pause the video, to catch up as a family, and to talk about the good things that happened this week. So, I'm gonna give you guys some time and some space to do that. So pause the video and just share with each other as a family what was the highlight, what was the best thing that you got to do this week. And then when you guys are done, press play and we'll continue moving forward this morning. I hope you guys have lots of good, fun adventures and stories to share with each other, and I hope as summer continues to move forward, you guys get to continue to go out, have fun with your family, go on adventures and share those stories. Man, how about Mr. Phil coming back in here again this week and stealing the camera from Sky Guy the news guy? What in the world? I've got to keep my eye out. I've got to make sure he doesn't come and steal the camera away from me again. And so here's what we're going to do before he comes and steals it from me. We're going to go into our memory verse, okay? So keep moving forward. You're going to get the slide with the memory verse. Work on that together as a family. Use some different accents. Memorize it together. And then we're going to sing our memory verse song with Mr. Phil.
All things work together for good. All things work together for good. All things work together together for good. All things are for our good. All things are for our good. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. All things work together for good. All things work together for good. All things work together for good. All things for our good. All things for our good. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. All things work together for good. All things work together for good. All things work together for good. All things are for our 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 good.
Stories of the Bible. Joseph forgives. This is Joseph, who was the son of Israel and Rachel. But he had 11 brothers who hated him and sold him into slavery. After being put in jail, Joseph told of the future of Egypt when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and Joseph found favor with the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh made Joseph a leader in his kingdom. Just as Joseph had told the Pharaoh, Egypt had 7 years of abundance. Then the 7 years of abundance came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. But the Egyptians had food to eat because Joseph had planned for the famine. There was famine in all the other lands, and many came to Joseph to buy food. There was even a famine in the land that Joseph came from. So when Israel heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent his sons to buy some. But Israel did not send Benjamin with the others because he was afraid that harm might come to him. When Joseph's brothers came to him, Joseph recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger. So Joseph decided to test his brothers. He had his interpreter tell them to send for Benjamin, who had stayed home. And then he threw his brothers in jail for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph let all but one of the brothers take grain to their starving households with the instruction to bring Benjamin back. But Joseph provided for his brothers' journey and gave them grain and silver. The brothers did exactly as Joseph instructed, as they were scared that God was punishing them for what they had done to Joseph so many years before. They traveled home to their father's house, then back to Egypt. Now that he had seen that they brought Benjamin, Joseph was overwhelmed, so he released the brother who was still in prison. But Joseph decided to play one more trick on his brothers. He sent the brothers away but told his servant to hide his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph told the servant to go after the brothers and retrieve the cup. The brothers hadn't traveled far before the servant stopped them and accused them of stealing the cup. Joseph could no longer control himself before his attendants. He made them leave so he could be alone with his brothers, and he told his brothers who he really was. Ta-da! He told them of his life and all he had experienced, and he forgave them for what they had done. God was with Joseph and took care of him and showed him favor.
Well, man, there's a lot going on in that story, right? Joseph's brothers are going to Egypt. Then they're going back home to the land of Canaan. Then they're going back to Egypt. And it's kind of confusing, right? So let's think back. Think back to the first week of Joseph. What are some things that you remember? What are some things that you remember from Joseph's life so far? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's pause the video, and as a family, maybe you get out a phone, maybe you get out a piece of paper, and just before we keep going with this lesson, just write down all the things that you remember about Joseph's life and Joseph's story so far. Press pause, make a list, and then when you guys are ready, you can press play. So if you remember in week 1, Joseph's brothers were pretty mean to him, right? We talked about how God uses the good things in our life and the bad things in our life for good, to grow us, and to make us more like Jesus. But Joseph had a rough go in week 1. Remember, he goes out to tend the flocks and his brothers come and they're angry with him because Joseph was his dad's favorite. And Joseph got the cool cloak, Joseph had the dreams, and his brothers didn't like that. And so they beat him up, they throw him in the pit, and they sell him into slavery off into Egypt. Then he gets in Egypt, and someone tells a lie about him, and he finds himself in prison. And then finally, Joseph starts to get somewhat of a break. And Pharaoh, the guy in charge of all of Egypt, has these 2 dreams again. He has his own dreams. And in Pharaoh's dreams, he has a dream that there's seven grains that grow up that are good, and then there's 7 grains that grow up that are bad. And he has dreams that there's 7 good cattle that are roaming around, and then there's 7 ugly, nasty-looking cattle that are roaming around. And he wakes up and he's just confused. He's like, what are these dreams that I'm having? And he calls for somebody to help interpret the dream, and Joseph comes, and Joseph says, I can't do this, but God can. And God helps Joseph tell Pharaoh what's going on with these dreams. And what God was trying to say was there's going to be 7 years where things are good, where the crops and the food grow, but be prepared because after those 7 years, there's going to be 7 bad years. And so Joseph gets to tell Pharaoh, hey, we got to be ready for this. We got to be prepared. We've got to use these 7 years to bring food in, to make reserves of our food, to store up lots of food so that when the 7 bad years come later, we're prepared. And Pharaoh sees this and he tells Joseph, hey, I want you to be in charge of this. I want you to be the one who helps the land of Egypt through this. And so Joseph does this. He helps them store up all this food. And then the famine comes. And the famine is so bad that Joseph's brothers, his family who live outside of Egypt, kind of up more north of Egypt, get so bad they don't have any food, but they hear that there's food in Egypt. And so they go down to Joseph. And they get to Joseph. And Joseph recognizes them. Pause really quick. Can you imagine being Joseph? Your brothers that changed your whole life, that did something so mean, so nasty to you, that sent you away from your home, that sent you away from your dad. All of a sudden, they're back right in front of you. And Joseph kind of freaks out. He doesn't know what to do. And so he he puts him in prison for a few days, maybe to think about what he's going to do. But if you remember in the video, one of their brothers stayed home. And I think Joseph wanted all of his brothers to be there. So he sends his brothers back to get their other younger brother, Benjamin. And then all of them come down to Egypt later. And then there's this moment in the story where Joseph is standing before all of his brothers. All of his brothers are there. And instead of being angry, instead of throwing them in prison, instead of having them killed, instead of paying them back for the evil that they had done for them, that they had done to him, Joseph doesn't do that. And instead, we see Joseph break down and weep in front of his brothers. And this is what he says to them. He says, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now don't be distressed, don't be angry with yourselves for what you did to me, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will continue to be famine. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you and to save you and deliver you. So it was not you who sent me here, but it was God. Joseph looks at his brothers, the ones who did something so terrible to him, and he says, it wasn't really you that did that, because God used this situation, no matter how bad, no matter how terrible it was, He used it for good. This reminds me a lot of our memory verse. God works all things out for the good of those who love Him, those who are called according to His purpose. And Joseph was able to step back and say, you know what? This was a terrible thing that happened to me. This wasn't right. This wasn't fair. But God used it for good. So when bad things happen to you, when people are mean to you, when people are nasty to you, God doesn't want us to repay it with evil. God doesn't want us to be nasty back to them. God doesn't want us to be mean back to our brothers and sisters when they're mean to us. God doesn't want us to be mean to our friends when they are mean to us. He wants us to be kind and to always remember that He is with us and that He is working all things in our life out, whether they're good or they are bad, for Him.
Hey, I think I see Dino Dave up there. Oh yeah, right up on that rock. That's so cool.
Well, hello again, Slow City kids. It's great to see you again. Last week was a tough one. And that Sage the sheep got away from us again. But I think this week is our week. While you've been at home finishing up school and working hard, helping your parents and being good to your brothers and sisters, I have been out hunting Sage the sheep. And I've been following his sheep tracks. And I really believe that this week is our week. Now here's the thing. As I was following his sheep tracks this week, I lost them. Shades the sheep is working very hard to lose us. And he's mixing up his sheep tracks, and I lost them. But I have a secret weapon that I haven't told you about yet. Jacko the dog.
Well, hello everybody.
I have my hunting dog here with me. His name is Jacko. And Jacko knows how to hunt sheep.
Yes, I do. I've caught many
So,
sheep.
since we've lost Sage the sheep tracks, Jacko is going to...
Hey, Dave, you smell good.
Jacko is going to take over, and he is going to sniff out Sage the sheep's tracks. So, come on. Yip, yip, yip. Jacko,
I'm ready.
come on. Let's
go get them. Come on,
Jacko.
Slow
Yip,
City
yip,
kids.
Yip, 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 yip. All right, he's speeding up. Come on.
I think he's up this hill.
Jacko, what do you think it is?
I have no idea,
How do
Dino
you think it
Dave.
got there? You think it was aliens?
No, there's no such thing as aliens.
Maybe Sage the sheep.
I bet you're right.
That Sage the sheep is a tricky fellow.
He is.
You ready to sniff him out?
Yes. Let's go get him.
Alright, come on, let's go.
Dave, why are you making that noise? I know where he's at.
Jacko, I thought you said he was this way. Now you think he's this way?
Well, I thought he was this way.
Okay,
but now
I trust
I'm kind
you,
of
Jacko.
confused, Dave.
Jacko, is your nose stuffy? Jacko, do you have allergies? Jacko, I think your nose is stuffy. Come here, I need to tickle your nose with this wheat so that your nose will come unclogged so you can smell better. Alright, let's go.
Thanks, Dino Dave. I can smell a lot better now.
Jacko, are you sure he's this way? This is where I told you. This is where I thought we should have gone. This makes sense.
I think he's down
Jacko,
this
that's
way.
where we came from.
I
Jacko,
know
are you
it's
okay?
where we came from.
Are you sure it's not this way,
But
Jacko?
you have to trust me, Dino Dave.
Okay. Okay, Jacko, I trust you. I trust your nose, Jacko. Come on, Slow City kids. Let's trust Jacko. Alright, Slow City kids. Jacko thinks he's getting very close. So just like last week, we need to make sure that we don't make a peep so that Sage the sheep doesn't hear us sneaking up on him. Okay, let's go.
All right, Dino Dave, the smell's getting really strong over here.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I'm so afraid of dogs. I'm so afraid of dogs. I'm so afraid of dogs. Dave, how'd you know I'm afraid of dogs? I gotta go.
Good job, Jacko. We got you. Sage the sheep. We got you this
Oh my gosh.
week.
Oh my.
Sage the sheep,
I'm so
you
afraid
are
of
in the
dogs.
jaws of Jacko, and we are ready for our next quiz to find the golden boomerang. Well done, Jacko. Good job, buddy. Good job, Jacko.
Slow City kids, I can't believe you found me again. Alright, I hope you're ready. Here's your next quiz on the life of Joseph in this week's lesson. Question number 1. What was Pharaoh's first dream about? Is it A, 7 flying dolphins, B, 7 cows, or C, 7 creepy spiders? Good job, you got the first one right. Here's the second one. What was Pharaoh's second dream about? Is it A, 7 heads of grain, B, 7 chariots of fire, or C, 7 ice cream cones? You guys are way smarter than I thought. Question 3. Which brother stayed back and didn't go to Egypt on the first journey? Is it A, Judah, B, Reuben, or C, Benjamin? That was a tricky one and you still got it right. Last question. What did Joseph do when he showed his brothers who he was? A, cried, B, hugged them, C, forgave them, or D, all of the above?
All right, Sage the sheep, we got all your questions correct again, and me, Jacko, and all of Slow City kids are tired of your games. We have earned the golden boomerang, and if you don't give us the golden boomerang, I'm gonna let Jacko come back at you.
No, please, no, please. Well, Slow City Kids and Dino Dave, you're getting much closer to the golden boomerang. But you still have one more quiz to pass.
SLO City kids, he's done it again. What's that, Jacko? You smell him? You can still smell him?
Okay. SLO City kids, come on, let's go. Let's follow Jacko. Let's go see if we can find him. If maybe he hasn't gotten too far. Maybe Jacko can still stay on his scent. Come on, let's go. Yip, 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 yip. Come on, Jacko. Yip, 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 yip. Come on, Jacko. Come on. Let's find him. Yip, yip, yip. What's that, Jacko? What's that? High School Hill?